What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast. Well, the playoffs are upon us. NFL Wildcard Weekend is here. There are 6 scintillating matchups ahead for us this weekend. Jimmy English, delighted to be joined as always by Stephen Kearns and Kevin Kelly. We are here to preview the playoff games this weekend. But before we get stuck in, I want to take a second to check in on Twist, because Twist, in case anyone doesn't know, has been looking for a job recently. He is quite unemployed. Twist, do you have any update for us?
Oh.
If anyone listening or anyone watching can get Twist a job, we'd be much appreciative. So he keeps the random text in the WhatsApp group to a minimum. But we'll get back to that. Look, playoff football is here. We have 3 days of playoff football. We have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Kicking things off on Saturday night at 9:30 Irish time. Texans and Chargers. This is an interesting one, Twist. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's going to come down to obviously the establishment of the run game. Now, just before we start recording, J.K. Dobbins is listed as questionable, and so is Quentin Johnson for the Chargers. Now, questionable means they're playing, but it's something to keep an eye on. The Texans, their defense is quite good. Their total defense is 6th rank in the league. They're 6th in passing and 11th in rushing. And the Chargers' offense for passing is 19 and rushing is 17. So on paper, it should really go in favor of the Texans. But if Texans can get Mixon and Pierre running often against this Chargers defense, which is 14th ranked against the rush, they're going to have a hard time stopping them. But on the flip side, if the Chargers can lock down Nico Collins and force CJ Stroud to find another receiver, someone else to step up and take the place of Tank Dell, the Chargers, are going to have a good day. And obviously Quentin Johnson can't start dropping balls, and you need to keep Will Anderson Jr. away from Herbert. But I think, out of all of them, I was which one would be hardest to call? This isn't one that's going to be hardest to call. I think the Chargers are probably going to come out on top on this one. And the Texans, they're just flat. What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that the run that the Texans went on in the second half, even the second 3 quarters of the season, they were dreadful. They just didn't ever look like they got back up and running at all. They don't look like a shade of the team they were last year. CJ Stroud looks like he's a very mediocre quarterback. So I think just with the trajectory that the Chargers are on, with the way Harbaugh has absolutely united that locker room, I don't see this going any other way than the Chargers.
Harbaugh has certainly re-energized the Chargers. These aren't the same Chargers as a couple of years ago. You can definitely see the energy in that locker room has changed. The relationship he has as well with Justin Herbert is fantastic. They have this little pre-game ritual, kind of similar to what George Kittle and his missus have, but in a completely different way, of course, where Herbert goes over to him pre-game, gets his shoulder pads, Harbaugh kind of pumps him up. So it's definitely a different vibe around the Chargers than we've seen in the past couple of years.
Yeah, the key thing is Herbert is healthy, or healthier than he was at the start of the season. And if their offensive line can keep the Texans edge rushers off Herbert for even a second longer than they need to, he's going to carve them up all day. The Texans pass defense is ranked 6th, but Herbert's just a different animal when he's playing to win. I know he, as the Chargers, haven't had a lot of success in the playoffs recently, but with Harbaugh at the helm, and they're just different. Even Quentin Johnson is not dropping as many balls as he was. He's coming along, better. He's looking like an actual first round wide receiver. So I think the key thing is just if Herbert stays up and doesn't get hit or sacked too frequently, Texans are in for a long day.
I mean, outside of Nico Collins, Kev, who really do the Texans have weapon wise. I mean, that injury to Tank Dell, the really unfortunate injury, and we wish him all the best as well. It was just so unfortunate. I mean, at the end of the day, and we always say this, I mean, this is just a game. You have to look after your body, right? But I think it's going to have a massive impact on who CJ Stroud is able to target. And if they take away the run and possibly take away Nico Collins, he could be in big trouble.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Jimmy, I couldn't even name who their wide receivers are or their tight end.
Exactly.
Like I couldn't. Like and I think that
That's
just
my
goes.
point.
I think, like, for the most part, like, wide receiver ones, right? Across the league, you know who wide receiver ones are. You know who tight end ones are.
Mm,
I can't even for the life of me. I couldn't even think to name of somebody
yeah.
on the offense for the Texans. So yeah, look, I think they're in real hot water right now, and unless they can show us something that we just haven't seen all year, it's unlikely. I just don't see this going. Like I said, I don't see it going any other way.
An interesting little aside here is that Zeke Elliott signed to the Chargers practice squad earlier on, and as presumably cover at running back, and it'll be fascinating to see if he is activated to the active roster twist before the game.
I don't think he will touch the field as long as the Chargers are in the playoffs. I think it's just a pure insurance policy. I mean, even if J.K. Dobbins goes down, like, they still have two other decent running backs whose names escape me right now. Like, Zeke is literally, if he gets activated, he's going to be activated as, like, third string. Like, if J.K. Dobbins for some reason goes down, Zeke is getting activated as third string, and he's just going to sit on the bench. I don't think he's going to do anything for the Chargers other than provide an out just in case of an injury.
So I presume we're all going Chargers for this one. Chargers across the board.
In unison, I think, yeah.
All right, bolt up. And then later that night, unfortunately for Irish fans and fans on this side of the Atlantic, we have the Steelers and the Ravens in an AFC North rematch. Third time these two sides are going to meet. Steelers narrowly getting victory in the first encounter, getting absolutely blasted off the pitch in the second matchup. And now, due to the fact that the Steelers are on a 4-game losing streak and the Ravens have the exact opposite record, these two bitter rivals set to meet again. Kev, news coming just today that Zay Flowers is out of this with a knee injury. It seems to be all knees recently that receivers are injuring. How much of an impact is that going to have on the Ravens offense when you factor in the likes of King Henry on the ground and Mark Andrews as well?
Mark Andrews, yeah.
He's been absolutely beasting it this year and is clearly has emerged as Lamar Jackson's number one target.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know how much of a impact he yes, look, he's an impact player. He is, but I don't think that it's gonna take away that much of a of a threat from the way the Steelers have been playing. Again, I think that like the Texans, maybe not so much like the Texans, but the Steelers are in this position where unless they can show something from the get-go that Pickens is gonna catch balls and Russ is gonna throw them, like with accuracy, with conviction. I think these are dead in the water. I
Yeah.
don't want to say I mean I'm sure you guys will agree in some sense that that seems to be how what the sense is about the Steelers right now is that these are stuck in mud and until I don't know what happens if you go through a full half where Russ goes 10 and 21 for throws, like do you seriously consider bringing Justin Fields in? I don't know. I just don't see them keeping pace with Lamar, King Henry, Mark Andrews, and the crew.
I mean, in terms of Zay Flowers being out twist, I mean, our cornerbacks have definitely struggled in recent weeks. Slightly better against the Bengals, but again, that game against the Eagles was absolutely atrocious. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith just ran completely riot over us. So, I mean, defense just needs to be the elite unit it has been, and offense just needs to do something really. I mean, just do something, show some kind of fight.
Yeah, it's it's going to be a tough game. Like, you look at it on paper, it's the number 1 total offense in the Ravens against the number 12 total defense of the Steelers.
So that should be a lot better considering our early season and mid-season form,
well,
which has
4-game
dropped off
losing streak
recently.
will do that to you. But like the biggest problem we're facing with the Ravens is they're the number one rush offense in the league and they're the number one rush defense in the league. So to run the ball against them is very difficult, and that's just the way it's always been with the Steelers and the Ravens. It's always been hard to run the ball against each other. Like, you kind of have to give the ball to Najee and Warren. You got to get them moving. Even if it's only for like 2 or 3 yards at a time, you got to keep the Ravens linebackers honest. The big thing is Russ, as Kev pointed out, he needs to be accurate. He needs to find other wide receivers. He can't just keep moonballing into Pickens and hope Pickens gets like a 50-50 shot, pulls it in.
I think Pickens was 1 for 5 that I saw against the Bengals from the highlights, because the zone didn't have game 40 up in time for me to watch it. So I was stuck with the extended highlights on YouTube, but every pass to Pickens just seemed, there was one particularly really terrible jump ball where he just kind of fell over and the ball was thrown to him.
1 of 5 for 0 yards and 5 drops.
Yeah.
So elite wide receiver. Anyway, it's because the thing is, like, you look at it, like, everyone in the league knows Pickens is gone full Antonio Brown in terms of drama.
Without the CTE, it makes it even worse.
Throwing his helmet, getting into verbal altercations with fans, giving up on running his routes, etc. Like, so the problem with Russ is he can't really rely on Pickens. And on the flip side, the Ravens cornerbacks know that. They're going to be in his ear all game. They're going to be talking to him. They're going to be talking shit to him. They're going to be winding him up. And that's just going to make him more and more angry, because they know they can get under his skin. And that's the problem. Because they know he can get under his skin, he's not going to play well. So you can't rely on Pickens. Calvin Austin, Connor Hayward, Freiermuth, Van Jefferson.
Mike Williams.
Williams, if he plays.
Yeah.
You don't seem to put him on the field. They keep on to make Van Jefferson a thing. They need to step up. Wilson needs to hold on to the ball. He needs to stop making these stupid decisions when he rushes, where he runs into the defender or fumbles it, where he runs and doesn't go out of bounds and slides instead with no timeouts like the last 2 games.
Yeah.
But like on the opposite side of the ball, you're facing King Henry, the number one rusher, well, second behind Barkley. Like, but they're the number one rushing offense in the league. And Cam Hayward and TJ Watt need help.
Yeah.
They can't do everything themselves. That's the big thing. And everyone in the league knows that. They're chipping TJ once or twice, and they're keeping him out of the game. Cam Hayward is playing his ass off. He's at as many pass defenses as all the cornerbacks in the league, because he's in the passing lanes constantly. But Highsmith and Herbig and Patrick Queen and all the linebacker core, they need to step up and they need to help out, because otherwise it's going to be a long game. And I'm staying up till 4 or 5 a.m. watching this, and I don't want to sit here and go to bed. Well, we lost 30-3. Like, that's great time. Like, it can't be all.
That's exactly why I'm not staying up, is because that's a very.
Bogwell is currently listed as questionable.
You gotta stay up, Jimmy. Come on now. It's the last. It could potentially be the last game of the season. Like, the season won't. Like, we know how finite these games are, and it's like even if it's a close game and you lose by 3 on a final kick, like, would you not rather see that than not? And like, yeah, if you get blown out by half, it's like, fair enough. You like, all right, I'm going to bed. But like,
in fairness, I stayed up and watched the end of the Vikings-Lions game when you went to bed.
Well, I went to bed with 4 minutes to go, and it was all holes barred at that stage. But
I will say, Jimmy, Chris Boswell is currently on the injury report as questionable.
Because he has the flu. Don't tell me things like that.
He has the flu. So
I mean, he's the reason we won the first game. 6 field goals. He has the flu. Okay, it's Thursday night now. The game's on Saturday night. He might be okay.
So that's like what I think is going to happen to the Steelers Ravens. Toss up. Like, I'm going to pick the Steelers because
you're never going to not pick the Steelers.
Yeah. Like, I can't not pick the Steelers. Yeah, and for Kev's point, I think Justin Fields will be in for more than a couple of series with different play packages and stuff. And if Russell Wilson throws 3 interceptions, I wouldn't be surprised if he just gets pulled.
Yeah, and that's an issue we need to discuss at length in a future podcast. Is the future quarterback for the Steelers? Okay, I'm going Steelers. Twist is going to Steelers. Kev?
Yeah, I'm going to go Ravens on this one. I think
that's the purple, isn't it?
It's a sensible pick.
All right, that covers off Saturday, and then Sunday is the triple header. 3 fantastic games. Broncos, Bills, Packers, Eagles, and Commanders and Buccaneers. Three really, really engaging, intriguing matchups. 6 top tier quarterbacks, 6 top tier games. I think out of the 3 of these, for me, the Broncos Bills is absolutely fascinating because the Broncos have been. I mean, Bo Nix started off terribly and then really, really heated up. I read somewhere that he's the only Broncos rookie to make the playoffs since John Elway. He's just coming off the back of his second Offensive Player of the Week award from the blowout of the Chiefs. And then on the other side, you have Josh Allen, who will be, by all rights, the league MVP at the end of the year. So this is going to be an incredible game and a real duel between 2 quarterbacks, Kev.
I don't think so. I think look, I say that like respectfully to Denver and the fight they've put up this year, but you know they did sneak in that last wild card position. The Bills have been phenomenal
A
all year,
juggernaut.
and they're going into Buffalo where it's going to be cold. It's going to be like not a fun environment. You know, like it's a loud stadium. Then fans will get on your back. So. I don't see Denver having the legs to keep up with a Buffalo team that was rested, pretty much rested after last week. So, you know, like not that Denver didn't go out and play, like obviously coming off the back of a blowout win against again a benched Kansas
But
City
yeah,
team.
I
It's
mean,
like,
it was the Chiefs B team they bet.
but look, you still have the confidence there. You still have that confidence game of coming off a big high scoring game. It's like that's always going to be good for your team. And so that would be the only thing that I think might hold them in any sort of like contention for this game. But other than that, I just see the Bills and I see Josh Allen just being far, far too superior to Bo Nix and their offense.
Twist, similar feelings.
Well, I think first of all, you know, Josh Allen going in for 1 snap just to continue his consecutive start streak and then sitting for the rest of the game last week, he's out of the MVP conversation. Because Lamar Jackson went out and balled out the same week. You know, and he done his duty and he done what
but he had to.
I know he had to, but like he still went out and balled out like Josh Allen.
But why would you risk an injury though if
but I'm just saying like.
Well, he was playing for the division, you know. It wasn't like there was more at stake for Lamar. You know, and like so it's like okay, if you had put Josh Allen in that same position, you don't think he would have gone out and thrown for 400 yards? Of course he would have.
It depends who he's playing against, but like Josh
Allen, it literally
doesn't matter who he's playing.
Josh Allen, I think Josh Allen has lost a step into Lamar Jackson in the
NBA. Not at all.
I think Lamar is going to be, and this pains me to say it because the colours I'm wearing, I think he's going to be 3-time league MVP. But
the entire narrative has just been completely biased towards Josh Allen this season.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean nothing. But like the actual game, like I kind of agree with Kev in the fact that the Broncos, like everyone needs a tune-up game. Like they beat up the B team for the Chiefs, like they carry that momentum in. That might keep them close. The cold weather's not going to affect them. They play in Denver, like they play in Mile High. It's going to get cold there, like at this time of year, so they're used to that. Like Josh Allen has to go out and he has to make a statement. And I say the best way to make a statement is first passing play, throw against PS2. Like beat him, like make sure that he knows that Sultan can't stop Josh Allen. Josh Allen needs to go out and do that. You know, make that statement. Like the biggest thing that the Broncos have going for them is like Bo Nix can scramble. He's got that youth, he's got that speed. He can create plays with his legs. It is a case of like the Broncos like pass defense is like 19th. You know, so they're going up against Josh Allen, who's been slinging it like crazy. So if they get up early and often, that's it. The Broncos are going to get blown out, and it's going to be a long day for Broncos. But the secondary storyline to watch out for in this game is Von Miller is playing for the Bills, and he is the Broncos' former Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit of that, like, you know, I know you guys, I'm going to go here, I'm going to purposely go and play to beat up on my old team, like, you know, show them what they're missing. So as look out for like Von Miller probably having a big day against the rookie.
I think this might be another consensus pick. across the board. I'm definitely going Bills in this one. I'm backing the Bills all the way to the Super Bowl this year.
I'm saying Bills for this game. We'll see for the rest.
Kev, what you reckon?
Yeah, Bills all the way.
Has to be the Bills. Has to be the Bills. That AFC Championship game is going to be absolutely insane when it does roll around. Okay, next up at approximately 9:30 on Sunday night Irish time, we have a rematch of the season opener from Brazil, and we have the Packers and the Eagles. So obviously the two kind of storylines here to watch is the fact that Jalen Hurts, I'm not entirely sure if he's out of concussion protocol quite yet.
Oh yeah.
Also, we did see that the Packers quarterback, whose name evades me right now,
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, thank you very much. He did hurt his hand last week. So that could be something to watch out there as well.
And Malik Willis has hurt his finger as well, the backup.
Yeah, and then you have there was another player injured. I think it was the safety. Was it hurt his knee?
Jair Alexander.
Like, I mean, injuries on both sides.
To be fair, he's been out half the season. Like, he's been out for 7 weeks now at this point.
Yeah, they finally just put him on IR.
Yeah, I think this could be a game that is definitely impacted by quarterback play, lads. Kev, I'll start with you this time. What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, I think the Packers, when they get to playoff season, are they're a different animal. Like, I don't know what it is about LaFleur, how he manages to kind of whip that team into shape over the space of a week. Now, I cannot imagine the absolute bollocking they got after getting beat by the Bears. The Bears have lost or have only won one NFC North game this year, and it was the last game of the year against the Packers.
I think they broke it like something like a 12-game losing streak or something against the Packers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the first time LaFleur has lost against the Bears also. So like I said, I can only imagine the bollocking that them lads got and how that's going to carry on into this weekend. With Jalen Hurts being out, I think that this game is an absolute 50-50 split for me. I don't care how good Saquon Barkley is. You can't just have one threat. And you need to have a player who's competent, who can throw the ball to your wide receivers, to your tight ends. Any quarterback can hand the ball off to the best running back in the country. But once the Packers kind of get on that run, like on the run defense, then whoever is going to be in a quarterback, Tanner McKee or whoever the option is going to be, needs to be able to be like throwing those critical balls. And I just don't haven't seen it this year. So this game is 50-50 for me. I don't know which way to go. I'll kind of hold off for you guys to hear your input on this one.
I'm just after doing a quick Google there. Is Jalen Hurts definitely out? Is that being
questionable still?
Questionable. Okay.
Still questionable, yeah.
He hasn't cleared protocol just yet, but
yeah, I mean, if it's Pickett or Tanner, I mean, if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm starting Tanner McKee over Kenny Pickett based on what little sample I've seen from what Eagles games I have watched. Tanner McKee just has a different. He can actually throw the ball. First of all, unlike Kenny Pickett, and not saying that because of what happened with the Steelers, but like Tanner McKee, even he showed great chemistry with his receivers in the games he did play in, and I agree, Kev. You can't just hand the ball off and expect to win, no matter how good Saquon Barkley is. League leader in rushing or not. Twist, what do you reckon, man?
Well, like, if Hurts has to miss this game, that's going to be feed Barkley all game long, which against a different NFC team, that might work. But the Packers are actually like a decent rush defense team. They're 7th in the league in rush defense. So they can stack the box all day and force Pickett or McKee to throw the ball against them. So if Hurts is out, that's probably the smartest way to go. Shut Barkley down and force, the ball to be thrown. On the flip side, like, if Jordan Love and Malik Willis both are healthy to go, the smart thing to do is to make sure that you put in a few packages for Malik Willis as well, because he's got great chemistry with the team just as much as Jordan Love. He can make explosive plays, whether it's with his leg or he can throw a decent ball. Keep that Eagles defense on their toes. They are the number one total defense in the league. They are the number one total pass defense in the league. So it's going to be a long day if you have to throw the ball all day against this defense. But that's the big thing. Like, you have to keep their defense guessing. You can't just have Jordan Love drop back, 2 or 3 times every series. Has to be Malik Willis in there. Has to be running backs. Has to be screens. Has to be like, the infamous jet sweep. You got to keep this Eagles defense on their toes. But like, if I have to pick one of them, I'm going to give the slight edge to the Packers.
What's your reason for that?
The reason for that is, regardless of whether Hurts starts or not, they've got a really good run defense, and they have basically have a two-headed monster at the quarterback position. If they go in smart and they do packages for both Love and Willis, they can cause some absolute chaos against that Eagles defense.
Yeah, I'm going Eagles. I think just with the slight edge in this one, just based on, I think they've been playing really, really well all season. Again, it just comes down to who starts a quarterback. If it is Jalen Hurts, I'm going Eagles. If it's anyone other than Jalen Hurts, I'm going Packers. I think it's a shame that Saquon Barkley did not get the opportunity to break the record last week. I think that was the wrong decision.
Yeah, because they're not winning the Super Bowl.
Then again, he showed kind of great respect to his teammates and focusing on the bigger picture. So this is a complete toss up for me, Kev.
Oh yeah, look, I think just with the way things have been in Philadelphia all year, it's been a bit of a circus at times. Like, yes, they've got their wins and they got the division and they did all the bits and pieces that they needed to do to be in at that 2 seed. So look, everything would tell me that it's going to be the Eagles, but I fear for Eagles fans and Eagles Nation because of the way LaFleur is when he gets to a postseason run. Like, look, he did it last year with which what everyone thought was not a team that should never have gone as far as they did, and so they would have gone. I genuinely believe that the Packers would have gone to the Super Bowl had Jordan Love not thrown his worst throw of the year on his last throw of the year. He threw an interception which was absolutely egregious.
Yep.
And it shouldn't have happened. And they would have gone to the Super Bowl, and I genuinely think they could have won that Super Bowl had that ball not been thrown. So look, I'm going to go with Packers. I think it'll be maybe a touchdown win, if even that.
Is the game in Philadelphia or in Green Bay?
In Philly.
It's in Philly.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to have a certain impact on it as well, because those fans are loud. So that'll be interesting to see the kind of impact that has. Okay, then the last game on Sunday is also intriguing, at least I think it is. And we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington Commanders again. Two quarterbacks who have been balling out. Two quarterbacks who've been kind of mercurial this year as well, because they both have their good games and their not so good games. Baker Mayfield and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels storming towards Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think that's been a given since kind of the early on in the season. And then Baker Mayfield had an absolute, and again, this comes with an asterisk. They were playing the Panthers last weekend. And interestingly, Jaden Daniels had to be pulled for Marcus Mariota, so there might be a little undercurrent there of underperformance. Another great quarterback battle twist in this one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, you've got Baker Mayfield, who went in to be the heir apparent to Tom Brady and has brought the division title, I think it's twice, possibly 3 times, not twice, since he has gotten his 3 for 100 contract off the Buccaneers. So he's doing what the team wants. You want to win divisions, they want to get to the playoffs. The Commanders have to come into Tampa Bay. They have to go in that raucous roar, loud crowd, listen to those cannons going off every time there's a first down. Really messes with your ability to focus and stuff. You've got Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. That connection is elite. It's just insane. You see an old meme, player X is up there somewhere, I'll just throw it up there. That literally works with Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield. Baker can just lob that ball up there and Mike Evans will find it and he will bring it down. Jaden Daniels, the key to him is obviously, on defense for the Buccaneers, play spy. Put at least one man on Jaden Daniels at all times. And then the big threat for them is McLaurin. Like if he gets in the back, if he gets anywhere, any separation, he's gone. In the passing game. But I think like the Buccaneers have what I like to call the Baker effect. Like they just seem to know how to win. They start off slow, and even against this Commanders team, they can still start off slow. But Baker, and he just builds up. He's like an old steam engine. It takes a lot of time for him to like work up and get that motion and get that energy. And once he gets going, like you can break that man's ribs on the field, and he'll just laugh, shake it off, and he'll limp back out there and he'll throw a touchdown. Like he basically should have been the Browns franchise quarterback. That's a different story. But the Baker effect is real. And I believe in the books in this game. I'm just going to show my hand there and then.
Kev, how much trouble do you see Bucky Irving giving the Washington Commanders defense? I mean, he absolutely phenomenal rookie season. It's been really under the radar. I mean, for a fourth round draft pick, he's over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. He really one of the underappreciated and underrated rookie running backs in the league, or running backs in general.
Yeah, look, I think just to build off of Twist's kind of points there is that like just Baker this year, I think just the Bucks went through obviously that kind of tough period where they lost Mike Evans, they lost Chris Godwin. Like they were really scrambling to try and figure out what they were going to do on offense. And I think that they found a really nice little groove when them guys were out for a couple of weeks. Then they come back, and then you add all of that. Well, not obviously Chris Godwin, but you add Mike Evans back into the mix, and Baker Mayfield's like, Jesus, I have an actual like weapon of a team in front of me.
Mm.
And again, he is one of probably the toughest between himself and Herbert. I would love to see that as a heavyweight fight.
Yeah.
I'd love to put the two of them in a boxing ring and see who would come out on top, because they're just both hard. Like they're just hard quarterbacks that love to get hit for whatever reason. They'll just soak it up. So I, I think the Commanders have had a good year. I just think that they're running out of road, running out of steam. I think they got a favorable couple of matches towards the end of the season against weakened teams, not against bad teams, but just against teams that had been weakened, i.e. the Eagles. They played the Falcons, who really I think the Falcons should have beaten them in that final score, or that final drive where they went for 2 points. But look, I mean, they've won games and they've put themselves in a position to really kind of write a script for themselves. But yeah, going down to Tampa, going into that atmosphere, and with that offense that Baker's been cooking with, I'm going to give it to the Bucks as well.
Baker just has the absolute swagger of a leader, and you can just tell that swagger has infused this team. I mean, there was a couple of plays last week against the Panthers where he was getting hit and stepping over players and just acting the bollocks, and you have to love it. I mean, that team has really kind of embraced his character and his and all that, and I think it really.
He still acts like a college quarterback.
He does.
It's brilliant. It's fantastic.
He acts like he's in Oklahoma. It's fantastic.
It's one of the best. It's genuinely one of the best spectacles in NFL at the minute. I genuinely think that. Like, I enjoy watching the Bucks play. I enjoy watching Baker play.
Yeah,
always been a Baker Mayfield fan. Say again, Twist.
I said if the Steelers aren't playing, I'm watching the Bucks. I just love Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I'm going Buccaneers in this one. I think just Baker Mayfield has the expertise, the experience. He has, the presence. He's a Grizzly veteran at this stage. Jaden Daniels, look, he's had an absolutely phenomenal year for a rookie. No one ever expected him to have the year that he had in terms of success. He's going to be he's a generational quarterback. I just don't think he's ready for this stage. And look, if the Commanders can keep those pieces in place, they're going to be a threat for years to come.
Bucks all round.
Bucks all round?
Yep.
Yeah, in unison. It's Bucks.
Bucks all round. And that brings us then to Monday Night Football. The Minnesota Vikings. Kevin's getting himself revved up there to talk us through this one. Making the trip down to California, to Los Angeles. Potentially this game could be moved to Glendale, Arizona. And our thoughts do go out to everyone who we know in Los Angeles. Stay safe. We're all thinking of you. Kev, this is a tricky one, I think, personally. I mean, look, the Vikings have been exceeded all expectations and what they achieved with Sam Darnold, the quarterback. So, I mean, Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the league. We've seen why he has that title, but it fell off a little bit against the Lions. they need to bounce back in a big way against the Rams. And the Rams are no pushover either.
No, of course not. Look, I think the frustrating thing for me this week has been listening to everybody revert back to, oh, same old Sam. This is the usual Sam. It's like that's one game, right? And I even get more frustrated at Vikings fans who are going around, oh, but like we can't be that mad. It's a rebuild year, rebuild year that, and it's just like, but at what point does it stop being a rebuild year? We won 14 games. Like we went 14-3. We have one of the best records in the league. We've played some of the best ball in the league.
Yeah.
We have one of the best defenses in the league. That's not a rebuild year. So let's just get off that high horse real quick because we have a big game ahead of us. And look, whether it's played in LA or in Glendale, whatever happens, the Vikings need to come out quick. They need to be absolutely definitive on how they're going to play this game. And Sam needs to stop overthrowing that ball. It was just like, for whatever reason, it was like he was just throwing it to somebody in the crowd. I couldn't believe what I was watching. There were so many open opportunities for him, and he could not see it. It was just like he was blinded. And so, look, I don't. I'm going to go with the Vikings, of course. I think that if Kevin O'Connell can get that offense up and running again, that's all it came down to because the defense that played. Twist, you watched it with me. Is like the defense played phenomenally for the first half.
It was a real defensive battle, which was interesting considering, two extremely high powered offenses. And I'm also fascinated by the emergence of Jalen Naylor. Like, where has he been? He's just come out of the woodwork to kind of pick up the slack.
Well, look, it was a big defensive battle, but it should have been a lot closer. All the Vikings had to do was score one or two of the four red zone opportunities that they had, and it would have changed. It would have changed the whole conversation of the game because they came out after the second half and just blew us away because the defense were just so tired. Whereas the Lions defense were making stops at the 50-yard line, this like in our own 45, our own 35, and we were punting it away. The Lions didn't have to do that. They just consistently wore us down, wore us down, wore us down. And there's nothing else that the defense could do. Now, I don't see the Rams having that firepower. They obviously have Puka. They obviously have Cooper Kupp.
Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams. Yes, they do, but they're not Jahmyr Gibbs. They're not Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're not the Sam Laporta. Like, two different teams. So look, I think this will be an intriguing game. I think the Vikings come out of it as long as they can come out on a hot start. We can't have any of this like drib drab football for the first quarter. Just can't happen.
Twist, Jared Verse, the rookie out of Florida State, is in, no real contention there for Defensive Rookie of the Year. How much trouble do you see him giving first of all, Sam Darnold and his offensive line that has been battered throughout the season? I think that's going to be possibly one of the biggest matchups in this one is Jared Verse versus the Vikings pass block.
Well, the key things that I picked up from watching the Lions-Vikings game is, like, for Sam Darnold to have the time against any type of elite pass rush, because that was the big thing. He wasn't getting time to throw the ball, or he was holding on too long. So the key I see, the Vikings need to do to prevent any effective pass rush is to try and implement a rolling pocket for Sam. Give him that option to roll out to his left or to his right and have the offensive line go with him. Because there's plenty of times where he rolled out against the Lions where he had open receivers in the red zone that he missed because his offensive line didn't know he was rolling out. It wasn't a designed rollout. If he implemented a designed rollout, he could probably have a little bit more success in the red zone. And the thing is, the Rams shouldn't be able to run against this Vikings team. They're number 2 ranked rush defense in the league, so they shouldn't be able to run against them. Now, the Rams do have a 10th ranked passing, so that might cause a little bit of an issue with this Vikings defense if they get tired, if they're on the field constantly. The key here is that I said to Kev while watching the game, the last game against the Lions, you got to feed Aaron Jones. Give him that ball constantly. The Rams 22nd in rush defense in the league. Give him that ball constantly. Make those linebackers cheat up to the line, give Sam that space over the middle, because I think the key to beating teams with Sam Darnold, if he gets panicked or if he gets flustered or if he gets like rushed constantly, is short to medium passes. Don't try and keep moonballing it to Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or TJ Hawkinson. Don't always go for the deep shot. There's nothing wrong with going short and medium up the field, get that rhythm, get those completions.
But we've seen it though. Even those 8, 10, 12 yard chucks, like he was just overthrowing them. Like he was just putting too much on them. There was three in particular that I can say that went to TJ Hawkinson that should have been on the chest plate, and they were always out in front of him. And it just like it was so unlike him. So sorry, I'll let you keep going, but it's
Yeah.
just one of those things.
No,
Like the air balls.
Those were big issues in the short medium pass. He was still airing it out, and I think the part of that was the pressure from the Lions was getting to him. He got
Definitely.
hit so many times. He was like, "There's somebody coming. I need to get rid of the ball. I don't want to take a sack." I think that's going to work in the Rams' favor if they have any type of like ability to implement the similar defensive game plan as the Lions. You know, pre-snap defensive motion to keep Sam confused on what the lineup is. Blitz maybe three or four times in a row on a couple of series just to keep that pressure on him. You might see him, unfortunately, lobbing the ball over his receivers again. But I think rolling pocket is Sam's best friend. Feeding Aaron Jones is Sam's best friend. And if he gets that rhythm going, then short to medium passes, get those rhythms going, then take the deep shot. But it's like,
Do you think potentially though, like not I don't want to take time away from you here either, Jimmy, but do you think that the height and the importance of that game, like not that this one isn't any less important, it's obviously more important, most people would say, but I think given the situation that like the conversation that was happening all week for the division, for the one seed, for the week off, for
game
home
of the
field
year,
advantage. It was against the Lions. It was everything that like you want your big game to be in. Could he have just oversold himself a little bit by like just kind of hyping himself up a little bit too much? Because that's what it looked like. He looked like he was too hyped when he was throwing them balls.
I mean, for all of the games for Sam Darnold to regress, this was one that you didn't want it to happen in with everything that was on the line. But in some ways, it's kind of better because okay, he's got that game out of his system now. You're still in the playoffs. You're okay. You didn't get the week off, but you're still got a relatively favorable matchup in the Rams. I think there's something like they're 9-7 or 9-8.
9-7, yeah.
Yeah, so they haven't had a fantastic season. I mean, they're in by the skin of their teeth, really. So in some ways, it could work out in Sam Darnold's favor to have gotten that bad game out of his system. We've seen the chemistry he has with his receivers, and even when Justin Jefferson is getting nothing, he still has Jordan Addison, he still has Jalen Naylor, he has Hawkinson. So there are options there offensively, and like Twist says, feed the beast, feed the running back, and run it down their throats.
Yeah, I think both you're right. Sam did let the game last week get into his head. I wouldn't call it a regression because that's a bit of disrespectful to Sam. Because
no, I didn't mean regression. In fact,
I know you didn't mean
regressed on previous form.
Yeah,
not as a player.
Yeah, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah, there's not saying he regressed as a player, but like I think the hype got to him, like game of the year, game of the
the environment, the moment, just
I think he just got inside his own head too much. And I think
he was seeing ghosts. He started seeing ghosts again.
Me and Kev said that. I said that joking, and Kev's like, "You might actually."
Not yet. I said not yet. I was like, he said it in the first quarter, and I was like, all right, let's reel it back in. Let's reel it back in here for a second. But no, Jim, you're right though. I think that having that game now is better than having it this week. Like ultimately, I wouldn't have look. I think it would have been great to see him ball out and. Like I don't know if I would have preferred to have that game where it's like, okay, there's clear inconsistencies and there's clear things that need to be fixed, rather than us having a tight game and still being beat. You know what I mean? Like I think there's a sense there where you're just like, okay, we know now what needs to be fixed and what needs to be worked on. We know what he's good at, but we know now exactly what he's not good at. So I think that it was an eye-opening game, but I think it serves a big purpose for this weekend.
Yeah, either way, I'm going Vikings with this one. They've played too well all season, 14-3 to drop an egg against the Rams, who have squeezed into the playoffs.
Are we going to redo the whole mid-season slump that we had? Fucking lose to the Lions, then go on the road to LA and lose to the Rams, and then it's like
Go home
Nah,
then.
it could happen.
I don't see it happening. I mean, look, you are away from home, which is unfortunate, and that's just the way the seeding works. But
And in fairness, Subway Stadium is not a home stadium for anybody.
yeah,
No,
exactly.
I think that's they were saying that the SoFi Stadium or like in LA is one of the biggest Viking fans outside of Minnesota. So look, I don't
And
think
it's
that that's
indoors. I mean, it is a similar environment to US Bank Stadium as
yeah.
well, and the fact that it's just a big glass building.
The
So
crowd noise is definitely not as big of an issue as it
no,
is in other indoor stadiums, like with the Lions, like that place is loud. So
yeah, I think can I say safely say it's Vikings across the board here.
I'm gonna say Vikings. I'm not gonna put words in Twist's mouth here or anything, but
We did discuss that the one team that nobody wanted to face going into the playoffs from the NFC was the Rams. But if it had been anyone but the Vikings, I would have said the Rams had the edge. I'm giving it to the Vikings. I think Sam is going to shake off last week. He's going to go in, and he's actually going to, when Campbell said, I'll see you in 2 weeks, I think he's going to bring the Vikings, possibly, to see the Lions in 2 weeks, unless he meets the Packers, and then you're screwed. Sorry.
would I be right in saying that no team has ever beaten the same team three times in order to make it to a Super Bowl? Is that a fact that
Off the
I'm
top of
making
my
up
head, I
completely?
don't know.
I'm nearly sure I heard it
Could
once before, but I'll
definitely.
check that
In
up.
fairness, the Steelers could have beat the Ravens 3 times to get to the Super Bowl.
Well, we'll check it out and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Right, big weekend of football ahead. To everyone listening, thanks for your support. Always great to have you with us. Drop your predictions somewhere on social media when we get this up on online. Lads, enjoy the games, and we will be back afterwards to recap and look ahead to the divisional games and maybe take a peek towards the championship games as well.